All right. Good morning, cyber traders. Welcome on back here for another fantastic edition of our weekly workshop here, Traders Talk. Top of the month to all of us here live joining us here this Tuesday, August 1st. We have Mark joining us here, Ira, Charles. We got Patrick. We got a full house today. Bell, Manuel, Ryan, Grant. Great to see as always. Wayne, John, a special shout out perhaps if he's here, even if he's not. Special shout out to Bill Ireland, perhaps joining us on social media. Either way, if not our live trading room, wishing him well, if anything. But great to have all of our students and members here right now otherwise, and great to have all of our members back on social media joining us right now. Hey, welcome to Traders Talk. If you're new here, we conduct this workshop in full inside our live trading room. So if you wanted to get the full edition of this, just go right down to the link on the banner below. If you're joining us on stream, in fact, and otherwise I'll pop that QR code up right now on top. So just if you're fancy with that phone, just scan that QR code here, but there is a lot to dig into here this morning. So with that, let me ask us for all of us here right now, what do you want to start Traders Talk off with? I want to toss it to Margaret or Yehuda or Ryan or John or Brian or Mark. What do you want to start Traders Talk off with? We got a couple questions to go through here that students had sent in. Right. I saw Ryan send over a nice detailed email earlier. Got a question from Mark, I think from Lori too, and perhaps on top Joyce. Got one from Joyce. So there's a lot of questions to go through. But what stock do you want to start off with? I wasn't necessarily funneling us, Brian, to say my options trade, but if you want to go over the options trade from earlier, we could certainly do that. A little sarcasm with that. Of course, I was leading you to that, but of course, we'll start though otherwise on Yell. Yell is up on the screen right now. I traded Yell earlier in the morning, but I left a ton of money on the table. I was not expecting this to make such a big continuated move that it made back from yesterday. So to see a stock go from like 70 cents up to near $2 yesterday, that's an enormous run to start. So of course, we've seen stocks that make bigger moves over time, but you don't want to get spoiled. You don't want to get greedy and spoiled, right? That's how you blow up a trade. Now, with that said, this was up in pre-market. It was shaking around a little bit in pre-market, but it was active enough to where we wanted to focus on it for the opening bell. So it wasn't on our main list, but it was on Fausto's B list. And as soon as the thing popped at first, we were calling it out, all of us inside our chat board here. So actually, let me just type inside the cyber group room here really briefly. We got the first call out this morning on Yell. Technically, they were as early as 7:46 Eastern time. One is for pre-market trading early in the morning. Then you would see at 7:46, we were writing, Yell is pushing back up towards yesterday's closing price at 176. So let me ask, for all of us here inside the cyber group room, perhaps, let me just ask you, was anyone here in the phase 2 class from this past week? The phase 2 stock course class from this past week, technically for the month of July, right? Well, Yell ran yesterday. We could certainly go over the move that it made yesterday, but let's even just start off with yesterday's closing bell price. At the end of the day yesterday, the closing bell print was at the price 176. So that should create a bit of a level to work off of heading into the next day. The question is how big is the level? So let me just try and pull this up for us here right at the close. It was about 60,000 shares. I'm going to show you right now from Bookmap on our level 4 screen here. It's about 60,000 shares filled at 176. Okay. Well, hey, don't get me wrong here. 69, 70,000 shares on the offer at 170. There was a lot even further up top at 2, which you would expect, but don't discount 176. So I think it was Rich that made that call out early this morning. That was as early as 7:46 Eastern time. It didn't make that breakout right then and there. But if you're in the chat board and you see that there and you know that Yell ran yesterday, you start to get pretty excited. You start to get pretty interested. But for the first test of that price, I would expect resistance. So initially, prior to the open, it moved up there. It broke over it, but then it pulled back under it, right? All right, well, really quick little pop quiz for all of us here in that phase 2 class, even phase 1, where we introduced the tape time and sales to you. What color comes up on time and sales, folks, when a stock is moving up? When a stock is running upward predominantly? Ryan says green, Mark says green, Joyce says green. We all should say green, right? Well, what do we nickname green as? I mean, hey, when a stock is moving up, primarily, why is it moving up? Because people are buying it, right, Ryan? So with that said, even though it shook under that price prior to the opening bell here, well, the fact it broke above it to start shows initial buying interest. So from that point, of course, we know what happened after the opening bell. It just ran right over that price again. It broke over 2. There was no looking back at the time, got halted, right? So you might ask yourself, well, man, this just popped again. It's up so much already. And that was when it was at like 210, 215-ish here when it got halted at first. Well, how could you trade a stock that's already up as much as that? Perhaps it's going to pull back. Perhaps that's the end of the move entirely. What if it just pops and then dumps off, right? Well, again, it's all a matter of focusing on where the big orders are, where the big levels are. So again, if you were focused on this trade in the pre-market, if you were really looking to follow this for the opening bell today, then you could have easily went to Bookmap first just to see. Ready? Let's just start with that practice. This is basically what the heat map looked like. I'm going to delete that green line there. This is what the heat map looked like basically right prior to the market opening up. So where do we have these dark orange lines that go across the page, folks? If you see these dark orange lines stretching across the page, even if it disappears after a point in time, where do you see like the 2 biggest, boldest orange lines that you got there? Just the ones that are easiest on the eyes, not looking for a tricky curveball answer right now. A lot of us, though, Ryan, Mark, Yehuda, all saying, and Charles, and all of us otherwise saying, basically 180, right? 180 right there, perfect. However many shares that is, it's about 28,000, 29,000 shares early in the morning. Now, that order got pulled, but it was out there for a period of time, like basically an hour. So for as long as it was out there for, even though it gets pulled, I respect that price at 180. But otherwise, we all sit here and say 230. This was out here since 7:45 in the morning. It was out there across the opening bell, basically. Now, of course, it popped, it broke out, it ran, it got halted. Well, at that point, perhaps you could use 230 as a key level to work off of when it reopens up. It seems like once it broke over 230 here, it flew, right? Well, let me ask us. If you were attending Traders Talk, even I think just last week, about 7 days ago, we were covering this subtopic. Of course, we took the time to cover this all throughout the phase 2 class, more of the intermediate class I teach. When a stock is halted, when it reopens rather, what exactly are we looking for once it reopens up? Immediately upon it reopening up, what should we be watching out for? Yehuda says to wait, which I agree. You want to wait, certainly. It's like when the market opens up, in fact, Yehuda, right? So how about that? Let's wait the first minute or so when it reopens. But what comes out at the opening bell even? It's the same answer, right? It's what a lot of us are saying here in the chat now. It's the halt print, what I kind of nicknamed the opening halt print. It's like basically when the market opens up again for the stock. So really quick, I'm getting the timestamp on this. When this reopened up, let's see if we ended up calling out the big print at first. There we go. Rich did in the chat board. Now, if you're on social media right now, I suggest for you to join us inside our live trading room. I'm going to repost this right now for John and Kathleen and Ravina and all of us right now. Rich exactly made that post himself right as it reopened up. As soon as Yell reopened up, he wrote in the chat board, Yell print at 224, right? Well, hey, it's for you to recognize that yourself. But at worst, you see that in the chat. You say, okay, well, that has to be a clear level to work off of going forward. Let's take a look, though, on Bookmap, and I'll show you what it really looked like here. Resizing my dots there. All right, so when it reopened up, well, it looks like that iceberg at 230 may have disappeared. There's maybe something there at 245. There was something here at 33 and 43, but it's only there for a very short amount of time. It's not really a substantial amount of time those orders are there. Now this, though, this is the opening halt print. It's at $2.24. It totals for about 374,000 shares, right? Now, this is real. This doesn't go away. This is not fake. This is legit. So if you're ever wondering, like, where's the big level I should enter off of? Well, of course, there's other prices to focus on. Hell, this could have pulled back down to 2. It could have broke under and over from 2 and then ran. There could have been a dynamo entry if it did that. It didn't do that, though. So, it's going to be easy for me to sit here and tell you what a stock did after the fact, but it's all a matter of anticipating the same patterns that we see here in Traders Talk each and every week. The same patterns that we see in class every time we teach the classes, phases 1, 2, and 3. So really your better level to enter off of, if you didn't jump in at first, was off at 224. So I know a bunch of us were able to jump in on this trade just right over that price. I'm probably not even going to be able to get all of them just in the chat there at the time. But, once it rebroke over that level and flew, of course, we were all over it. Myself, I thought Nicholas did earlier. He caught a bunch on it. Actually, here we go. Nicholas was in from 227, got out at 242. He got back in at 254. Andre was in on the options. Wayne had 2 positions on Yale from earlier. Chuck was in directly from 224. He got some good money on it. And of course, there were plenty of others too from the morning or even just afterwards. Point being is that every trade begins with the entry, right? So before you sit here in this room or sit here on your own and ask, well, why did I not, take as much on the table? Or, oh, I should have held on longer. Or, oh, I should have set my stop here. Before any of that conversation happens, it's a matter of where did you enter the trade from, right? Before you hit your target, you have to think about sustaining your entry level, making sure that your entry level holds. So was there a chance that this may not have worked out the way it did? Of course. But every trade begins with the entry point, and every entry point's derived from a big volume level. So actually, I want to show this if I can, even on the time and sales. I did this back in class, so a little extra classwork I'm doing here for you. But I'm going to show time and sales right now just to illustrate the opening halt print. Let's see if I can get this straight. One shot here. Come on now. Nope, not one shot. I have to go back probably a few more seconds. Bear with me here, folks. My apologies. Right there. There we go. Second time's a charm. 224 in red. It's, regardless of the color of it, it's the fact that it was at the price 224, a 374,000 share block print got filled there. So if it tanks from there here on this candle or these candles here, then, unless of 2 holds, then it's not looking pretty. The fact that it moves back above it again provides that hope and optimism that it could pop over it. And hey, if it could break over it again, then game on. Then it provides that second chance to try and anticipate that larger move. Same thing happened to a great degree just before on Tupperware. Really quick, I wasn't necessarily intending on the Tupperware trade really quickly, but just it popped up in the back of my head. So I want to go over this briefly here and delete all my lines for right now. So bear with me. And Tupperware earlier looked like a disaster. And I'm going to show just from Bookmap, but even like the VWAP price. That's all I want to show. Oh, no, pardon me. Pardon me. This thing's flying back on up right now. I'm very happy to see this live right now. What a pop this is making here. But even from earlier, this is it. Jeez, what a move this made from earlier this morning. This broke over the VWAP. It broke over the opening print. It made a hell of a start. But then let me ask us here for Lori and Wayne and Al and all of us here inside our live trading room, Kath and Lawrence and John, and we got a trio of Johns here right now today. So we got John G, John Dub, and John S. So, for all of us here otherwise, when a stock breaks above resistance and flies off of it, you'd like to think that resistance would become what? Right? Every time here. Support. Well, clearly, this did not hold as support, right? So, of course, it invalidated support holding once it crashed under it, but then brutally broke like 30 cents below that price. All right, well, we wrote this stock off right then and there. We said, that's it, game over, move on to another stock. And even after the fact, I turned back over to this trade after this even happened again. It was after it dumped back down. I told everyone here, I'm like, oh man, look what just happened on Tupperware. I guess I missed it, but it tried actually popping back up once more, and the same damn reaction happened. And now it's bound to break the lows here and just utterly collapse. That, if it didn't die off here, then it's definitely done for right now. Game over. That's what I said. I wrote that to you. I said that to you verbally. Well, much more often than not, that's what you're expecting. You're expecting for this to break lower lows, for this to eventually drop much lower. Let me ask us, looking at the heat map here, roughly, what's our next big support level? Looking at this picture, under the assumption that this keeps dropping, what's our next big support level? $4. So why would you not think with lower lows and making the same damn reaction here where you probably wouldn't have even thought it would have made this move anyway. You would have thought that it would just sink right from this point lower. Well, it's definitely bound to do it here then, right? Well, if it fails to make that big reaction down, guys and gals, if it fails to make that big reaction down here for all of us right now, I'd like to think there is hope and optimism that it could provide that chance for that big move that you were looking for up originally, like from pre-market. So it took a little while. And there was another point here where I was a little reluctant of it making that move because I thought it would have done it sooner at this stage. But it broke back over it once more. And then on the re-break through this same level, it provided that last chance. And that's all you needed. So, this really started the run on Tupperware that we were calling out. Got halted. And then look what happened here. Pretty similar, actually. Opening halt print at 554. Right there, halt print. Now, at first, it tried holding it as support. It shook around it a little bit here. Really quick math question for all of us. Wayne and Grant and Danny joining us right now, and Charles and all of us here, Corinne, etc. Focus on the price, $5.54. Is there a 50-cent level or a whole number level that is very close in price to 554? Is there a 50-cent level or whole number that is quite close to the price 554? A lot of us are saying 550. Bingo. So it's not just 554 that's a level. This is just mere pennies off from 50-cent level. If there was an iceberg here, which looks like there was a little guy here just right before the halt, maybe not so little, about 60,000 shares. Okay, I'll take that. Well, the fact that that is there, it provides an extra level for this to work off of. This is a small range to work off of as support and then as resistance here. But it looks like just now, live as we're talking, this just smashed right through this again. So, hey, game on. There's definitely a great chance for this to run up even higher now, but we need to see this now hold as support. Well, we need to see it, hold as support again. So if it can't hold it again, if it can't break higher, then it's bound to make a larger drop off. We have to take this level by level. So, for any of our new members here, I do want to just jump to something really quick, tiny. I mentioned it during our audio broadcast from the morning. For any of our new members that join us here, you might be a swing trader, you might be a long-term investor, just have a portfolio, work off of that, right? And you might be relatively new to day trading. If not, perfect. But I'm just mentioning, if you're new to day trading, you might think that holding on to a trade for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes is like a scalp. Folks, that is no scalp. That is just, I would say, a day trade. To me, a scalp is like within a matter of a minute or like a couple minutes, couple of seconds at that. That is not our cup of tea. We don't try and scalp, myself and Fausto, but we have to work off the cyber clock, just what we teach in class. Normally around 10:15, 10:30, you tend to see reversals within the market. After that point, typically, you tend to see more false breakouts and head fakes. So you would like to be a little bit more patient with re-entering a trade. And certainly you don't want to hold on to a trade all throughout the morning into the afternoon, just under the assumption of hope, just hoping it's going to make that move. But with that, though, if you get out on a trade and you leave a little money on the table, as long as you're content with the money that you've already locked up, you can't really get like greedy, right? But if the stock provides a chance for you to jump back in, if it breaks back over a big level, then don't feel so hesitant to enter. It's easy to say that, but I would want you to feel more reactant to jump in as soon as it breaks back over that level. You have to set your stop. Really quick, we have new members joining us. I'm going to probably keep making the same damn joke every week, folks, so bear with me here. It's probably one of my new catchphrases. But let me ask us really quickly for Manuel and John and Charles and Kevin and all of us, Joyce and all of us otherwise. Got a bunch of emails I have to answer here coming up. Do you put your seatbelt on when you drive your car? Do you put your seatbelt on before you leave your driveway, or do you put your seatbelt on as you're 50, 60, 80 miles per hour already down the expressway? Don't be smart. Tell me. Give me the real answer, folks. Right? Before leaving, right? As you're pulling out the driveway at worst. There's no difference here. When you jump in a trade, you have to set your stop. And by insta, I mean like just as soon as you get in, that's the next step. That's the next step in the instruction book. That is you putting on your seatbelt. That is it. Right, Patrick, after the crash, right? Yeah. All right. So with that, I think that we all understand the point, right? All right, we're getting silly now. Warren's asking, what's a seatbelt? All right, let's move on. Let's move on here. So let's jump to some emails right now. Great to have Mark S. back in the fold with us right now. Mark Soley, one of our longtime students, attended our on-site class, just our most recent one from this past year. And actually, by the way, folks, we have our on-site class, our Trader Summit coming up at the end of September. We have a couple of seats remaining with that, probably a few, I'd imagine. So just make sure that you talk to your education advisor. They'll be able to give you all the travel accommodations and just information and details with that. Some live workshops included alongside just the trading with Fausto and myself. But with that, though, Mark, great to have Mark back in the fold here. Mark asking, working on some more group time, and I hear you talking about options more. I wasn't necessarily trying to segue right to my options trade, Brian, but with Mark's question, how can we not? My question is, Mark says, why would you go long a call or short a put when it has to go in a particular direction? If you're a writer, meaning a seller of a call or put, you have the option of just going sideways or in the opposite direction of the option sold. There's more to it in this email, but really just to kind of simplify it, just to let everyone know, about 3 months ago, I started dipping myself into options, opened up a smaller account for my day trading. I just put some money towards my options account here, and I just started dipping into it. Hey, for some more expensive stocks, you could at least trade the option on it, the premium of the put or the call. And that's simply what I do. That is all that I do. I buy puts and calls, mainly calls, just as I lean more towards the up market. So, with that, that's all I'm doing, Mark. I don't know anything as far as debit and credit spreads. I don't know anything about the betas and thetas and Greeks and any of that. That's all. Now, with that, though, I don't want to just give that to you as my answer, but in terms of at least translating how we follow options with the stocks that we're calling out, that can give us a little good insight as far as what I was looking for on a few positions from today. So, for instance, really quickly, let's say on Tupperware, this is a position that I'm still holding right now. Now, on this trade, as it was beginning to build out off the 480, I attempted the entry. So let me get you my entry on the options trade of this. Tell you what, my trade manager is a freaking mess right now. So give me a quick sec. I got to make sure I get all my timestamps here correct right now. All right, so I ended up getting in on Tupperware options. The time was at 9:56 and however many seconds, but it was right around the price, like 60 cents or so. But more or less, it was as it was beginning to perk back up, right? It was as it was pulling back and trying to squeeze back up here. Well, of course, if this ends up failing to make this move back up, well, you have to get out, because although today is Tuesday and time technically could be on our side if you're doing a weekly option, which is mainly what I touch, it's the fact that if your strike price is further away from where it's being traded at, there's much higher risk. So if this snaps down and your strike price is $5, or if it's $5.50, then the premium is going to drop off a lot. So you got to be really tight to get out. On a stock that has more illiquid options where the spread's bigger, it's going to be a lot tougher to like set stops. So, in terms of actually trading options with our stock callouts, that's something I would really want to work with you on. Just as far, not marketing specifically, just the student themselves, just as far as just tightening up your stops and knowing where to set them, if anything. With that, at least on this trade, I set my strike price for $5.50. So it was a little further out. I had hoped to see this try and recover and move back up, especially with it failing to break lower here initially. I was thinking, okay, there's a chance that this could really look to try and push up higher. It was pushing up early in pre-market. So, maybe if I did it at $5, there would have been more, how do you say? Maybe I would have had more calculated risk with going a smaller strike price, lower strike price there. So either way, the fact that this didn't break lower was a great sign. The fact that it's moving up much higher now, of course, right now we're doing pretty good on the option. So as far as at least the profitability in terms of trading the option, right now it's basically trading at $1, the 550 calls. It's basically trading at 95 cents a dollar right now. But even right now, I mean, hey, if I were to trade this on a Thursday, there's much higher risk in terms of time decay. So in terms of the expiration time left, any big shake could be brutal. So I try and even go the next week out, I've learned, with trading options if I'm doing Thursday or Friday trades. All right, so that's a little insight, at least with options, but let me get more to the AMSC because I know Brian was looking to go into that here with me, and that was an options trade as well, is an options trade, I might say. I got out on half the position as soon as the market opened up, and then the second half I'm still in on. So, AMSC, what the hell happened to this stock this morning, folks? I mean, geez, at 4 o'clock, this spiked all the way up to like 24 bucks and then pulled back. So, the first thing that I'll say is on this type of trade is I was not expecting this to make this exact move at that exact time. You know, AMSC is a stock from yesterday that we were calling out. If you look back on yesterday's chats, there were about probably 9 or 10 separate public main chats about this damn stock. Now, the reason for that is because I was led to believe that there was some unusual options activity on it already. It was pushing up already to start from last week. There was some hype on it with being what's called a superconductor stock. Honestly, between you and myself, if you're on social media, get to know myself a little bit better, it's a bunch of shit above my pay grade. I don't know really much at all about superconductors and quantum and all of that, energy type of discussion. Perhaps I should, but all I know is that it's the next hot topic, like AI was. So this is really one of the only major ones that is within that kind of industry, the superconductor industry. I think there was one otherwise from this past week or the last 2 weeks actually that was tagged with it, but I didn't realize that it was tagged with it until I think yesterday. IO&Q. I think that this is also a type of quantum or superconductor type of stock. QS is one also, but not having as strong of a day today, at least. But AMSC, it's lower float, it's smaller market cap. Potentially that could lead to a more explosive move, right? Well, I thought that this had the potential to make a reaction like this over a much longer period of time. On this trade, when I went to look yesterday, there weren't weekly options on this. Really, it's monthly options. So August 18th is the nearest expiration date that you got for this. And back yesterday, when it was trading at $10, it was going for like 75 cents for $15 calls. That's what it was going for yesterday on it. So my strike price was pretty far out because I was very bullish on the thought. It could have been $12 strike price, could have been 13. It was a little further out. There was higher risk with it, but I got a cheaper premium just with that in mind. It was about a few weeks away, so there's time on it, not like it's expiring this week. All right, well, hey, I wake up this morning at 4 a.m. during my normal insomnia hours. I couldn't go to sleep really much at all last night. Actually signed up for jiu-jitsu class yesterday, believe it or not. I'm a big combat sports fan myself, and I got my ass handed to me yesterday on day one in Brazilian jiu-jitsu class. So I was sore, I was tired, and man, I woke up at 4 in the morning just suddenly, and I said, okay, let me check my positions. I checked Tilray at first. Tilray was trading at 250. I got out on this trade already from the morning. I took like a minus $10 loss on it. So be it. Like QS at the time wasn't going much of anywhere. I was chopping around on light volume. And then the last stock I checked was AMSE. Can you imagine is that of like the 3 stocks you check? This is the last one. And then it's up like 48% and busting over 15 bucks in the morning. I'm like, what on earth is happening here? Are you freaking kidding me? So I think there was some earnings involved with this on top that obviously could have led to the unusual options activity prior. It goes to show that the big money typically knows, right? Well, the thing with options is that you cannot get out on options in pre-market. Maybe for select tickers like SPY, you could trade it prior to the open. But when this was at 24 bucks, I knew I couldn't get out. So I'm sitting there like, shit, I really hope this doesn't dump back down again. Like if this dumps back down to 15, it would be a little discouraging. And of course, that's what happened. It pulled back. So if, when the market opened up at 9:30, I got out instantly on half the position. And then the second half right now, I still just have just to see because it's, obviously deep in the money and still above my strike price. But, otherwise on this AMSC trade, well, where were the best levels that you could have traded the stock? Where are the big money levels that you could have traded the stock off of? Made such a big pop. And then from there, it just gradually pulled back. So what I'm about to go over on this trade really quickly, it doesn't have as much to do with the big money. It does, but let's dip into a little indicator talk. Why not, right? Anyone here familiar with Fibonacci's? I don't use Fibonacci's often at all, but only under this type of circumstance do I. So this popped and then it pulled back all before 8 o'clock even hit. So it's a clear bottom, which was built basically from the close yesterday where it was trading, and then the top right here, right? So what a Fibonacci does, retracements, what it does is it essentially creates these levels that are set apart from each other based off the Fibonacci sequence. Does anyone here remember from earlier this morning when I was calling out AMSC off 1350 looking for a bounce? Anyone here for that earlier this morning? I was calling it out off 1350. So the more it pulled back, I was really jonesing for this to hold because I needed it to for my own personal sake for the second half of my position. So obviously it's easy to say it worked out, but the more it drops, well, that was my next fib level. Well, it made my perfect move, folks. It broke under the fib. It broke back over the fib. Entry, run. So this could have been a great spot to jump in on this if you weren't already in from yesterday, perhaps. But, from there, made a beautiful move up to the $15 level, $5 price like this, $15. That should be a key psychological level to start. And if there was big volume there anyway to back it up, then even better. So it had a tough time breaking 15, breaking. Then finally here, as we're doing Traders Talk Live, just rebroke it. So nice trade now on this AMSC again. It's basically right back on up to its opening bell print. All right, so we got the opening bell print right now on AMSC at $16. So obviously we'd want to see it hold above that or just rip off of it. There is a chance right now it can get halted pretty soon with the pace it's popping at. See, the thing in pre-market is that on this trade when it was running up as fast as it was, there's no halts in pre-market. So this could have went to $50 perhaps, right? I wasn't able to fall back asleep once I saw this at 4 a.m. I was like waiting for pre-market to open. I was already up before 4 and I was like, all right, may as well check my positions. So I waited for 4 o'clock to open up. And once I saw this, I mean, what would you do? I should have went for a run around the block. I just couldn't go back to sleep after. Right now, just for anyone kind of interested with the option right now, I guess. I got the $15 calls yesterday at 70 cents. And right now it's trading at $4.20. It's on a 30-cent spread. So 420 to 450 is the premium right now on that for $15 calls. But the thing is, though, is that on that type of trade, it was a smaller position, like compared to like the Tupperware trade or Nikola or any of the other day trades we were calling out, even Yell, if you did the options on that, that's going to carry more liquidity to it and it's going to be on a tighter spread. Even when yesterday, when I traded it, it was on like a 10-cent spread. So setting a stop in that regard, it could be a little troublesome, especially on a more rapid shake. All right, so really quick, got to keep going through some emails, folks. So students like Mark, Joyce, Lori, and Ryan sent in emails earlier, folks. Early bird gets the answer there, right? Early questions get the answers, at least after I finish rambling. So here we are now. A couple more questions coming in. We had Mark and now Joyce coming in here. Going back to Yell. Joyce was in the Yell halt or on Yell just before the halt at 221 with a tight stop loss at 218. When it reopened, it did shake her out and she didn't trust the activity. So she started to look at just other trades. Other moves were like RGTI and that AMSC. Didn't get profits either. And just, otherwise, how could you more so look to go over or get back in on the Yell trade? I think that's what Joyce is alluding to there with her question. So let's at least cover that there again. We covered the 224 price, but let's cover the stop out part. If you were in the Yell trade from the halt, right, when it was at like 224 or whatnot here on this candle, there's a bit of a chase to it, right? It's simply because it popped up so much off the previous peak, off of like 185 or whatever that is, 180-ish there, and it broke over 2 so fast. If you were in the trade from 215, 220, even there 224 where it got halted, there is a sense where you chased it, right? So unless if it pops right away and continues running, then it's going to be tougher to manage. That's where it's going to be normal and easy to get stopped out when it reopens. So normal and easy. It's not unusual, especially if you're in from right where it got halted by. So it's not to say that, hey, should you be in the trade to begin with there or not? But that's part of the consequence with taking the trade if you're getting in right before the halt. That really is just it. Because what do? Do you just set your stop much wider? Well, what happens if it fails to break out higher again and just dumps much lower? You're really going to risk that much money. You're going to look back on that trade and say, I should have made my stop tighter. There's always a catch 22. So the thing is that you need to give the stock a little space if you get stopped out, to where you say, okay, well, what was the big level again? Where's the big print? What do the icebergs look like? And once you have that level, which in this case was the 224, it's a matter of just watching it more. It's a matter of just keeping your eyes on it. What time was it here when it reopened? 9:42. Okay. So really quick, folks, we know that reversal time is, let's say, 10:30. Let's even undershoot that. Let's undercut that 10:30 time and say, in theory, that reversal time is at 10:15 in the morning. Okay. From 10:15 in the morning, or from let's say from 9:42 in the morning to 10:15, how much time is that? From 9:42 in the morning to 10:15, how much time we got there? I'm just closing out the contract mark at the end of my trades when I'm trading the option. I'm never really holding and turning it back into a stock, like exercising the option there. You got a lot of time, point being, right? Like 30 minutes. The world is our oyster with 30 minutes, folks. So what I mean by that is, again, doesn't mean for you to hold on to a trade that's just dropping and dropping. I think that was a great call by Joyce to get stopped out on a tight stop. But it's just a matter of, hey, let's just give it a little bit more space, a little bit more room in terms of seeing what it does after. Can it break back through a big level on the way up? So, hey, it from myself, for all my students here. Actually, we got a lot of longtime students joining us here, and perhaps a couple I see lurking in the shadows. I may have not have seen, let's say, a quick shout out to Keith B in a long time. So great to see Keith with us, and a lot of us though otherwise that have been with us for a number of years. And hey, there are points where I miss a trade and it runs up right away without me, and I am really frustrated, right? But then there are times where you do see me catch a real big move and runner, and it's like, wow, how did he get in? Folks, I don't catch them all. I don't catch every big move again. If I leave money on the table and the stock rips right up without me, and it's way far away from a level I was focused on, and if I feel like I'm chasing, I'm not going to jump in. There were so many trades today that I missed out on. The Yell trade, I left a lot of money on the table on, but pushed up much higher without me. The Nikola trade at first in pre-market, I was in with a bunch of us from $3. I got out at 320 once it pushed up at first. Took my 22 cents, in fact, and ran. Thing just kept going. But otherwise, though, we're not always going to be perfect. It's a matter of being present for the moment, though. It's a matter of being aware and present. Hey, if everyone has to, or if someone has to part ways and do something more important with their lives, family, health, anything like that, of course, comes first. Work, whatever it may be, you got to step away. So you're not going to be able to be there all day, folks. If you are at your desk throughout the morning and you definitely have more time, then that's the first step, right? But from there, it's a matter of saying, okay, well, you know what? It just shook me out here. Let's just give it a little bit more time here. Let's just watch. Does it collapse and keep dropping? If so, throw it away. If it is just lingering and lingering and lingering, okay, well, let's find our big level here. Let's see what it could do. All right, going through my inbox right now. Ryan, you're on deck here. Just going to Lori first, though. So, Lori, actually, more about the, not a question about the trades, but more about the polls. I like this. Myself and Fausto now, if you're joining us on social media first, again, I'd recommend for you to join us inside our live trading room. What you could do is just click that little link on the banner below, but also scan that QR code if you're good with your phone there and your camera. Join us for a week inside our live trading room. We like to post a lot of different polls and survey questions, just to kind of better know all of our students and for you to know your fellow traders in our room. But on top, it's just good communication. It keeps things fun and exciting. So, Lori is asking, when you put the poll info up on the screen, is it possible to make a sound alerting us that it's up there? So just right away, I will say I thought that there was an alert a sound that alerts us there. I will double check on that because that was an assumption for me. So I'll double check on that, Lori, right away. She says, I have the chat open, half listening to the talking while focused on my trading screens, rightfully so, by the way, most of the time. You know, you can't only be focused on the room. You have to be focused on your platform, folks, and your money. So rightfully so from Lori. She says, if there was an alert noise, like something that when it gets halted, it would get her attention. So really quick, I thought that was the case. So I appreciate her sending that question. Wayne does say that there is an audible alert. So Lori, perhaps I could have Rich just chat you here, just over time today, and he could assist with that. Let me ask all of us here: does everyone hear the poll alert sound? Whenever we post a poll, is there an alert sound that pops up there? I thought there was. I assume there was. A mixed bag, though. Honestly, a mixed bag right now. Half saying yes, half saying no. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Rich, my friends, I'll talk to you on the side about that, and then we'll chat just everyone here with an update on that. So good heads up from Lori on that. Roberto asking here just briefly in the chat, could you revise support and resistance on Nikola? Let me get to Ryan's question first, Roberto. He had sent this just much earlier in the morning, and then I'm going to jump right back to the chat for you. So let's go to Ryan. Ryan asking here, would you say that most level 4 traders, such as yourself, are able to live off profits earned from day trading, or do many of you still have a second job to assist with expenses, given the unpredictability of the stock market when trading? So first and foremost, allow me to say, I mean, this is just a question that, you know, to each their own. If anyone would like to share more information about themselves, let's say, just to be very straightforward, if you're someone here that's making like $1,000 a day consistently, if you would be as kind to perhaps give a little bit more insight to, you know, yourself to answer Ryan's question here, I'm going to give my own insight, Ryan. So, you know, obviously I started here at Fausto in 2014. And since, well, yeah, could I live off my day trading? Probably, especially now over the last 2 years. Like, honestly, the answer is probably. Do I like getting a little extra income doing literally the same thing that I would just do otherwise and just trade? Yeah. So I do like that. So, you know, it doesn't make much of a difference for myself, aside from the extra money. So it's good. It helps pay the bills. So that is one reason why I still stay here, right? It's just extra income and it helps myself out a lot more. Manuel was asking, what was your question? So allow me to re-ask. Basically, Ryan is asking, you know, let's say for someone that's consistently profitable, just, you know, it doesn't matter how much. Let's say if you're making 500 or more a day consistently, let's just say, doesn't matter how much from that point forward. Don't list the number. Just if you're making 500 or more a day, if you could answer this, do you feel like you're able to live off your profits earned from day trading? Or specifically for yourself, do you have a second job that assists with expenses, given the unpredictability of the stock market when trading? Please give realistic examples as a level 4 day trader, as I'm striving towards this goal and I would like to trade full time. So it's a really great question to ask from Ryan. It's actually a question that doesn't get asked as often. So, you know, hey, just, you know, to each their own. If you don't want to answer, no sweat. Barbara says she is retired and she's just supplementing her income doing this. Brian says he has a second job, but he works from home. So, you know, perhaps with the hours he works, it allows him the ability to multitask, or otherwise just put focus on one and then clock out and focus on the other. Mark says he works from home. Yehuda works from home too. Ira says he feeds a family on day trading since the mid 80s, even with commissions on a 60K account. You folks remember yesterday if I ever mentioned that we have some heavy hitters in this room? I may have mentioned that even in the morning. All right. So, you know, Bell says working from home. Manuel says he has his own business and that's supplemental. And I know that just from coaching with Manuel. Like, there are times where he's not able to be at his desk. You know, he might have to like just help, like, you know, family members that may be out and he has to pick up the slack. So I know it's been a hassle on him and he's been killing it in specific. I mean, a lot of us have. So big shout out to all of us perhaps that have answered that. But, you know, just again, it goes to show that you could do it to supplement your income. But if you're working from home already, hey, why not stick with that if it doesn't really cause you too much stress and like low quality of life? You know, if you're working 60 hours a week and you're day trading on top, that is some tough stuff. I wouldn't say that's worth it. the juice isn't worth the squeeze then. That would be a goal for you then to make sure that you could supplement your life just by trading alone, right? But hey, if you're pulling in 20 hours a week, 15 hours a week with work, and if it's not stressing you out much at all, then why not stick with that and then just do this on the side, right? Now, though, there's a key phrase that I want to use, though, because before you look to do this full time, you need to become, and Ryan knows this keyword, but I'm just saying this as an umbrella to everyone here. You need to become consistent. You need to become consistently profitable first. And that does not mean every singular day of the week for a month straight. I don't know if there's some people that try and hold themselves to a perfect standard like that. You're going to drive yourself crazy. Losses are always going to happen, folks. But it's a matter of containing the losses. And it's a matter of saying, hey, much more often than not throughout the week, am I winning more than I'm losing? So you might have 1 or 2 down days across the whole week, but if the down days are much smaller than the profitable days are, I would say that's pretty consistent, right? Now, if you're at that level, then you should have full confidence to say that you could do this for a living. Because, hey, if you've been doing it for a matter of months at this point, then it's like riding a bicycle. It's like once you get the groove and you look back, it might be a little scary, like, oh, shoot, can I keep doing this? But obviously, over time, you become comfortable and you say, all right, this is a possibility. I could do this. I could do this. Everyone has all these different light bulb moments over time throughout their time here at CTU or time elsewhere. If you're doing courses with someone else prior to coming to us, you might have light bulb moments with them where you study, you listen to them maybe a few times over, and finally, whatever they say, it might finally kind of click with you, hit you in the back of your head and say, damn, so that's what they mean this whole time. You might be reviewing a trade from your journal, and you might sit there and say, wait a second, it rebroke that level just like Josh screams about. And as soon as it broke through that level on the way up, it ran. So things like that, it's not going to be uniform from Grant to Yehuda to Mark to Ira to Bell to ever. We're different humans with different brains, with different experience levels. If you have 20, 30 years experience coming into CTU, does not necessarily mean that you're a great day trader. Now, if you have great day trading experience specifically coming to us, you're an exception. But, you have to learn the sport first. And really with that, it's a matter of saying, if you're doing this pretty consistently week over week, don't be afraid about the future. If you've been doing it for a period of time, why think that you can't do it for the future consistently? Don't be pessimistic. You got to think, optimistically, right? All right. So really quick from the chat right now, Bill saying that that's what I'm working on, consistency. Mark says nothing wrong with multiple sources of income. The markets can dry up at times. That's a great point too. So even when things are slow in the market, you're not making as much across a given month. Let's say we're out of earnings season. We're going into August right now, which is kind of like lockdown time across the whole US, really. It's like the last of the summer months. There's no real major holiday there. So I think a lot of families are going to try and finish up with like last second vacations. You're going into Labor Day week there as well at the end. So you're not going to make as much week over week, not for your doing, but it could be for the sake of lack of volatility within the market. Mark says stepping away for some time can help you get back in focus also. I would agree there, especially if you're doing this every singular day with us. Taking a few days off definitely helps. There's a phrase that's bluntly said, it's just more comedic, but touch grass, right? Step outside, enjoy the nice outdoors, breathe the fresh air, and enjoy the life. Step away from your bright computer screen for a number. It does you some wonders. Yehuda says, when I hear Josh's bellowing voice, run back to the room. There you go. Right. John says, listen to music early morning helps me stay alert. Exactly. Right. Especially this good old playlist that we got, John. Each and every morning. No, but Ravina says, set your goal and work towards it every day. Stepping stones, right? You don't want to shoot big right away, because if you don't hit that goal consistently at first, you're holding yourself to such a high expectation where you become discouraged, really, with what's to follow. Right now, it looks like Tupperware trying to eke back up one more time as we're just following this live right now. So it's got to break up higher here pretty soon. The AMSC stock, just for reference, it's still kind of lingering right now. It's got to build support here still and hold. If it snaps these lows, then I could see us go back to 15. So got to be careful there. Let's go to Roberto's question really quickly from earlier about Nikola. Can you revise support resistance on Nikola? Definitely. Quick one there. So Nikola from the morning ended up making a nice pop at first. It pulled back to 3, which you would assume to be support. Thankfully, it held as support. I was just more looking myself at 305 as like an as equal level, perhaps we'll call it. You always want to trust the whole number more, but just seeing it hold around here was very good sign leading into traders talk just now. If it's not going to break any lower, then perhaps there is a chance and there is hope to see it try and pop higher. Now, from that point, though, on Nikola, your opening print this morning was about a 2 million share block print at the price 323. What's it doing right this very second? It is testing 323 as resistance. In fact, broke over it a few times just a moment ago. Let me ask us here for Ryan and Kathleen, Ravina, all of us here. When a stock is moving up, it's moving above resistance. It's breaking through volume, going up, up, up. What color comes up on time and sales, folks? Green. And what do we nickname green as? What's the nickname we give it? Buying. So the more proverbial buying that we have at 323 specifically, then there's a chance for this to run higher. So it tried doing it before. Hey, maybe it tried to jump in right here once it popped above it. Let me ask us one more time. When a stock breaks through such a big level, simply, what are we looking for shortly after? Every week here, right? Big move. Well, it better make a damn big move right from this point, because otherwise you don't want to get stuck hoping and holding. Even if it pops it later on here, it doesn't provide much incentive for me to hold on to a trade with more uncertainty about the move. If this continues to hold, then the probability of this dropping does increase. So I'd rather just, if I took this trade, if I were to take this trade here, then if I were to get filled at like 324, then I'm out at 322, 321. Take a dinky little loss there. But, hey, keep your eye on it. What if it does continue to push back up? What if it does break over that price one more time? Well, it didn't reverse off it and tank. So if it could provide one more moment where it tests it, then it gives us the chance to think that it's going to break out, make a much sharper run higher. So, right place, wrong time, that happens quite often. Happens to the best of us. So it's saying that it's all about just kind of patience and keeping your eye on the trade. That's all. Just being present, as we'll now say, kind of being present and in the moment, just watching out for these stocks as we're calling them out. Now, really quickly, we're going to finish up traders talk in the next 5 or so minutes. Lastly, on this topic, it's just to say, if you're joining us on social media right now, again, you don't need to scan as you're with us inside our live trading room. That is what myself, Rich, and of course, the man himself, Fausto, is here for. So Fausto was killing it earlier on the Yell stock in our advanced trading class earlier today, the phase 3 stock course. And with that, though, hey, if it's not in class, it's inside our live trading room. So all you got to do is be present with us inside our live trading room to continue these call outs. So, hey, we'll find out what happens momentarily with this Nikola if it ends up making the pop over that 323 again. Just go right down to the link on the banner below the stream. Once again, I'll pop that QR code up as I had up just a moment ago. You can actually scan that QR code. Join us. Join Grant, Yehuda, Kathleen, the 120 of us right now joining us live. Very impressive number here for a late morning. All right, so let's finish up right now. Let's finish up here. I think maybe one more email question came in. If not, then I think that we're all set. Just kind of going through all my inbox stuff right now, folks. Checking the junk folder. Going once, going twice. Checking everything. Make sure I didn't ignore anyone just yet. All right, so folks, I think that's just about it. Last call for all of us here in the chat board, all of us on YouTube, social media, Facebook Live, all of us inside our live trading room, of course. Let me know if there's any last questions that you got for me here. Certainly, if you're joining us inside our trading room, just a private chat away. Send over a quick instant message, a private chat to me. I'm going to jump onto a couple of coaching calls going into this afternoon coming up, but I'll be able to write back to you on the side here in just a moment. And then for all of us in social, hey, we just stressed enough. Just join us inside our live trading room to continue the commentary. But otherwise, any questions that you got for me, if you're not joining us there, just email myself, josh@c2trading.com. I'm going to finish up here with a quick look on the AMSC. It's beginning to inch down a little bit, so it's not looking as good now. The Tupperware, definitely still in good shape so long as it can maintain over this 550. It's been choppy around it throughout the last 30 or so minutes, 20 or so minutes. But hey, if it's not going to tank from there, it provides hope that it could make the next big push. So the fact that it's now holding above it here at this point, let's keep it above it at this point and see if it can make that better push. If not, then obviously watch out. But hey, again, folks, I hope that you enjoyed. I'll be back on the mic for all of us inside our live trading room just later on this afternoon coming up at 2:30. Got to refill up the water. I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.